Hello everyone, I got another video coming out. This is it. Nothing intended or meant for any legal purposes. This is all history. Um, and this one's personal history, personal opinion. This video comes from, shout out to Deep South Country. Thank you very much for the suggestion. I don't do a lot of talking about my dogs. Most people know me for Big Red, and but the reason I don't is because there's a lot of information out there, and I've spoke on them before, and I've spoken on Big Red. But this, I'm going to get a little bit more personal, get into some things that uh, I've talked about a little bit here and there. In this vid, I'll put them all together, kind of family things, dog-related family things with Big Red. He's very special to us. He was given to me by a friend, but he was bred by Dunleavy, Steve Dunleavy. One of the earliest dog men I knew, introduced me, taught me. I learned a lot from him, especially about breeding methods and techniques, which he was getting into right before he had to get out of the dog. So I took a lot of them and used them myself, I mentioned them in my latest book coming out. I'll do a vid on that. I give credit to people like Dunleavy and Boyles and Walter Z and Frank Shy and Tessio in Europe and, Woody Stevens, different people. But Big Red, like I said, was a special dog. And like I always do, I'm going to start with his pedigree. This is kind of unique because people know him as a Jeep Red Boy cross, which he is that, and he's actually half Red Boy. He's more Red Boy than he is Jeep. But what was unique about him is it could have been the first time done, maybe not. People, have their opinion on that. But Dunleavy had a littermate to Champion Sundance and Irish Tom's Justice, who were out of Buster and Morgan Sandy. Now, at the time, or right before this, he started making these breedings that produced Big Red and Miss Rowdy are the two I ended up with. They were litter mates. So I had a male and female from that breeding. Grand champion, Johnny Johnson's the grand champion. Miss Rage was making waves all over. She was a badass female. No one that I know of that saw her. I never saw her. I did see a daughter of hers on video. And she was a short order cook, rough as hell. One of the baddest bitches of her time. 38 pounds, 38, 39 pound grand champion. I don't think she ever went 30 minutes in any of her shows. Some of them were under 20 minutes, 18 minutes, like that. But she had a very good career. So I think in his mind, that's where that Buster stuff came from because Miss Rage was double Buster, father-daughter bred down from Buster, right off of Buster, as a matter of fact. So what they did was they made a Buster bred to a Heinzel female, took her daughter out of that, bred it back to Buster, and that's where you get Grand Champion Miss Rage from. And they had bred Jeep to Grand Champion Miss Rage, and that's where I saw the daughter of Miss Rage, who was sired by Jeep. Her name was Patches. She went 2 hours and 17 minutes to a draw with Champion Sally. Champion Sally was off of Bristol's Champion Thor, who was a son of Snooty and Miss Pool Hall Red, out of it was an inbred Satch Bloody Sunday female, Cox's Lizzie, I'm pretty sure her name was. Brother sister breeding off of Satch Bloody Sunday. Had to be a littermate to Smith and Walton's Reuben, R-O-M, because he was brother sister bred too. So I think littermate to Reuben. So he took that Satch Bloody Sunday inbred stuff, bred it to Snooty Miss Pooh Hall red stuff, that's produced Sally. Sally was badass. 36, 38 pound female. So her and Patches went 2 hours and 17 minutes to a draw. I saw that on tape, actually, not videotape. You know, they had VHS back then. And, you know, at the time, those tapes were limited. The cameras were limited. So the fight went 2 hours, 17 minutes, but they were only had like an hour and 15 minutes of the match. But it was, from the get-go, it was a good one. They both picked up. They picked up both females, and I think both of them didn't make it. So what Dunleavy did is he got a male that was off of that Jeep to Miss Rage breeding, and he got a male that was bred off of litter mates. So they were litter mates off of Jeep and Miss Rage. That produced Dunleavy's Rowdy, called him Rowdy. And I continued with that name later on in some of my dogs, and so did other people. So Rowdy is off of Johnson's Champion Small Change. He was a 3-time winner, 1-time loser. And his dam was Johnson's Robet, who was a 1-time winner. Dunleavy took Rowdy, bred him to an inbred Red Boy female. Her name was Vegas, I think, Las Vegas, I think, but he changed it to Red Girl. She was off of Marlowe's Champion Britches, who was a 4-time winner, and Marlowe's Venus. And that's all Brandy Girl stuff. So I've talked about that. That's the stuff I like down from Red Boy. All the Brandy Girl stuff. Cleo, Brandy Girl, Bass's Cat, Rattler. Those dogs. So it was kind of a 3-way cross of Jeep, Miss Rage, and Red Boy. Now, after we got him, I had about, during a couple of years there, I had probably between 15 and 18 dogs that I went through, and they were bred all different kind of ways. I had Bully Son dogs, Heinzel dogs, had Boleo dogs, different bred dogs. So after going through all these dogs, because we had in our mind, you got a cohort as a foundation and all that. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that that was the process. What you want to end up is a solid foundation to start breeding, which is why I didn't start breeding dogs for a few years after I got involved with the breed. I got in specifically for competing, speaking with Boyles. What he said made sense to me. He told me, Richard, the best dogs you're going to have are the ones you produce yourself. So Big Red was part of the foundation. I ended up with 3 dogs. Big Red, his sister, Miss Rowdy, and an inbred Jeep female that Dunleavy gave to me named Sissy. She was father-daughter bred off off a Jeep. So her first litter, Dunleavy had bred it. I ended up with 3 dogs off of that. Blockhead, Tommy, and a little female. I think I called her Baby, but she got stolen. Blockhead and Tommy were off of Rowdy and Sissy. So heavy Jeep. And those, to this day, are some of the best, not just Jeep dogs I had, but some of the best dogs I ever had. Being so tight bred like that, they had a lot of skill. Tommy was a very hard biter. And I lost both of them. And a lot of that, we've talked about that before. I've talked about it, when you're starting out, you make a lot of mistakes. And you regret them sometimes for the rest of your life. Those were 2 top dogs. I would put them at their weight against anything. Blockhead was very skilled, powerful. He was smart. He was rough. Tommy just was a killer type dog. He finished a 2.5-year-old dog when he was 11 months old. That's the ignorance that I talk about sometimes when talking about we made mistakes. And what happened is, this is something I talk about too, not to do. People like to see dogs being aggressive. Put them next to each other, they're going off all day long. I had him and Big Red, and they hated each other. Big Red got off the chain. He killed Tommy. He was a bigger dog and a good dog. His style was pretty much, he loved the shoulders and stifle. He would start out hitting the shoulders. He would end up going to the stifle. He could fight off his back, meaning he would pump into the brisket from his back if he ever got put down. And he would fight the bottom jaw. And I saw that in other dogs, especially in that video of Patches versus Champion Sally. That's what Patches did, the Jeep Miss Rage bitch. She would get on that bottom jaw. When I saw Big Red do that, I thought, man, that's where he got that from. It's a good hold. It's how to get out of. Again, I'm speaking of the past. So I could see snippets of where this stuff came from. Intensity, Jeep dogs have it. Intensity, Red Boy dogs have it. Strength, Jeep dogs have it. Strength, Red Boy dogs have it. Bully Son dogs have it. Intensity, Bully Son dogs have that too. You include that mouth. I always felt that any dogs that I got that had that type of mouth, say a 7 or 8 or more, came from the Bully Son side. That's my belief. Now, crossing the Jeep Red Boy, just like when you make a lot of battle crosses or a lot of 50-50 crosses, produce mouth, even if the dogs themselves don't have hard mouth. So, but in this case, Big Red was a 3-way cross, which that could produce mouth too, devastating mouth. He wasn't like a 10, but he was an 8, 8.5, 9, like that. He had a good mouth, right? Not as hard as Tommy's. Tommy had a 10. Blockhead had like same as Big Red, about 8 and 9. I put them together. These dogs, I started rolling them when they were, Tommy started 11 months. I put him and Blockhead together after that. And then he got killed in a kennel accident. I started Big Red probably, 12, 13 months. Started Blockhead about the same, 12, 13, like that, pretty young. We were rough on him. Big Red in his lifetime had, 20, 30 rolls maybe, a lot. Because after his schooling, I matched him, he won. My partner at the time matched him. After that, he was about 5 years older. He lost very game. And the point I'm trying to make is, even after his career was over, he almost died when he lost too. He just had that will to live, man. And there was another incident in his life that he almost died, and he made it. But after his career was over, I was still using him to school young dogs with his relatives, with outside dog guys, because he was big, but he was older. His teeth were all broken, so he was rough and intense like that. He'd find out if your dog could hang, whether it was younger, a little bit older, whatever, I've started dogs with him just so they could get the idea this is what to expect. Because there was no hesitation in him. He never turned in his whole life. He would start right away. Didn't matter what was in front of him. He would go. So he could teach a young dog a lot of things. But he wasn't, at that age, he wasn't so hard a biter where he's going to hurt him. He'd just rough him up, basically. And go to the spots. And, you'd find out within a matter of time if you had something there, because he just had that experience, and he would use it. He'd use that experience. So he could be in the house. He was house trained after a certain point. When he got older, he wasn't so aggressive, especially around females and young dogs. He could actually run loose in the yard, as long as something didn't bother him. Even if they were going off on him, if he walked by and they tried to grab him, or they grabbed him sometimes, he would, then he'd he'd turn on it quick like that, just go after him. One time, he was on the yard. Here's another thing, you know, you make mistakes. Had him on the chain right next to the house. So the way our house was, there's cement all around, patio in the back, all the way around the house. My dad had done that. So the side door went into the kitchen, and you walk about 10 feet, that's the first dog chain hookup. That's where Big Red was. That was his spot. Close to the house, close to the family. We could open the door, let him off the lead, and he'd just go right in the house, go lay down by the couch. Well, me and my brother were coming out the door. We're talking. We're standing there in the doorway talking. And Big Red walks up to us. He broke his chain, but he either didn't know he was loose or didn't care that he was loose. He was waiting for us to open the door. So he waited there, I don't know how long, until we came out the door, and he just walked up into the house like he normally does, and went by the couch like he normally does. So he's very intelligent. Another thing about him, and this is kind of my way of bragging about him, he's always had the box set up in the back patio. We very rarely took it down because there was always shows there and always schooling dogs and roles and all kinds of stuff. But I could take him in the box, in the corner, empty box, nothing around, no dog, nothing. Face him up and he'd go off. And dogs will do that, and he learned to do that, meaning when they're in there, they know it's go time. That's serious. Outside the box, not so much. That's not the time to work. So he had that intelligence about him. I showed a lot of my friends that. What? Look at this. Show me. Or somebody come over. Richard, show this guy what you showed me about Big Red. Put him in there. They go off. They couldn't believe this. There's nothing around. He just starts screaming like a wildcat, because that's where he did his work. And when he's outside, especially like I said, when he got older, when he was outside of that atmosphere, not so much. Even females, and I mentioned that I AI'd, artificial inseminated. I did it myself. Me and my wife used to breed our dogs that way. You didn't have to do that with Big Red. He would breed naturally. And he was big, 54 pounds, so he was about 58 pounds on the chain. Some of the bitches were small. Sissy was only 35-pound females. Same thing with his granddaughter, Bambi, 35 pounds. So what I would do is I would dig a hole, because they were small females. I would dig a hole and put Big Red back feet in it, and then back the females up to him, and it'd be just about level. I'd dig just a big enough hole where his back feet were in the hole, and he could breed on a level plane. Just something I thought up. It worked real good. No hassle. He was an expert at breeding. He learned to breed, he was good at it. And so females would go off on him, because a lot of my dog would not breed, Not saying that you couldn't get them to do it, but it was just too much hassle. So I learned to do artificial insemination myself. It was a lot easier. It takes about 10 minutes. You don't have to sit there, wait for them. You don't have to fight them, tie them up, tape their mouth, use a breeding stand, none of that. Just do it manually yourself. And it's kind of, takes a little while to get past that, what you're doing with the dog, masturbating the dog and all that. But it was real effective. High percentage of breedings, and a lot simpler. And the quality of the dogs was the same. Didn't matter. So his intelligence carried over to a lot of different things, One time we took him to Disneyland. That time at Disneyland, you could, they had a kennel there. I don't know if they still do. I've been back, but I don't even recall seeing if they probably still have a kennel there. But we took him in there, and I told the girl when we went in there, just put him in a kennel, leave him there. You don't have to take him out. He's been fed, watered. He won't go to the bathroom as long as he's locked up, Don't take him out. And so we go through Disneyland. We come back. When we come back, go back in there. She's got him out, and she's sitting there holding him, hugging him, petting him, and this, and baby talking him. And I'm like, oh no, because there were dogs loose in there too, or people coming in and out getting their dogs like that. And I was like, almost had a heart attack, And I said, I told you not to take him out. Why'd you take him out? She goes, oh, he looked lonely. He wanted some attention. Okay, he's good. I love him. He's nice and he loves me, behaves and all that. So before I left, right before we left with him, she goes, how come he has all them scars all over his head and his face and his mouth and all that? I said, oh, he fell down. She goes, oh, okay. It was funny at the time. But he could ride in the car. Angie had a way with certain dogs. Not all dogs will listen to you, especially in the house. Some of them, they haven't been in the house before, or even when they're young, they get in there. You've probably seen it. Cut a dog loose in your house and they start running all over. Running in circles, running around, jumping on the furniture, this and that. I've had several dogs do that, even as young puppies. They're just getting into everything. They don't listen. But he wasn't that way. Mr. Rowdy wasn't that way. Tank wasn't that way with Angie. She had a way with dogs. She would just talk to them, and they would listen. And most of the dogs that she was close to, especially Mr. Rowdy, what they would do is they just, wherever she went, they followed her around the house. She's doing dishes, they're sitting right there. She's making dinner, they're sitting right there beside her. She goes to the bathroom, they follow her. She goes to the bedroom, she's cleaning up, they're just with her all the time. She just had that way about her where these dogs loved her. And even with my kids, none of the dogs that I bred and kept were ever human aggressive, especially with kids. They just weren't that way. And a lot of dogs, even mine, they are excited, they jump on you, they love you and all that. But they wouldn't do that with the children. Real calm around the children, real coy. It would be real still, go along with them. My oldest daughter used to have tea parties with Big Red, so she painted nails and put stuff on them, I don't particularly like it, but that's her companion. And the little axle thing that was her table for the tea party. So she would have her teapot and she would have a little tiny cup for her and one for Big Red, and she would dress him up and all that crap and give him his tea. He'd drink it. She'd take her and drink it. They sit there a couple hours playing tea party stuff. She'd talk to him and you just go along with it. My youngest daughter, she actually taught two of our dogs. One was Big Red, and his son, Mr. Rowdy. She taught him to climb trees and chase squirrels. How she did it, I don't know. I just asked her one day, because they could be alone with dogs as long as we're in the general area. I never left them alone, but somehow she got them to do it. And basically, I think she just told them, because I asked her, how'd you get them to do it? She goes, I just told them to go get it, Squirrels run up the tree, and she just told them go get it, and they chased it. So eventually, just got in the habit of where she'd tell him go get it. He'd just jump up the tree, climb up. There were almond trees. We're surrounded by almond orchards. They'd get up on that limb, and then they'd kind of walk down a little bit and then jump down the last 4 or 5 feet. And she's taught, like I said, she's taught Mr. Rowdy to do that, Big Red to do that. They wouldn't do it for me, but do a lot of things that for the children. They have a way of communicating. I think what it is, they just kind of expect the dogs to do certain things, or they manipulate them into doing it, or they show them by example what to do, and the dogs just go along with it because they're with the kids, their companion, protector, all that stuff. And they just kind of go along with it, and if you do it repeatedly over and over again, the dog picks up on it, and then they learn to do it. So he was that way. Once his career was over, and I bred him. I learned to do this too. I used to breed my dog before they were shown, during their careers, after, And the reason I did that, one of them was Tommy and Blockhead. I never got them bred. I didn't breed them because you have that mindset. That's what people tell you to do. You think, okay. But at some point, nah, I'm not going to do that. I almost got Blockhead bred to his aunt, Miss Rowdy, but they started fighting. And at that time, I didn't know how to do AI, so it never got done. That would have been a hell of a breeding, aunt to nephew. No doubt it would have worked because this blood was very consistent, produced very well. Some high caliber dogs, a lot of above average dogs, a few average dogs, a lot of game dogs, and some dogs that quit. That's expected. But they're the percentage of good dogs was a lot higher than the ones that quit, especially with Big Red. So you might get 1 or 2 in the litter of 6 or 8 that quit, and the rest are at least don't quit. They're not all high quality, but he threw a lot of high quality individuals too. They were used all over the United States and Mexico, other countries, Philippines, Korea, Guam, Thailand. Maybe in Europe, I don't remember, but different places. When I got out, I only had 15 dogs, grown dogs, and pups and young dogs. So out of the 15 dogs, most of my foundation stuff went to OTK, and he kept it going. Got some very good dogs. Some went to Baja California. One went to Delaware, Louisiana, New York, Texas, and like I said, Philippines, Guam. Not bad. Even Singapore. Sent Bambi to Singapore. So while I had Big Red, I only bred for my purposes. You know, people could come to breed with them, but at the time a dog is not famous like that. And a couple of people did breed to him, but you know, I wasn't the type to go pick up female. You know, if there's a lot of work for me to do, you have to come out here. If you want to breed to him, come bring your female. If not, I ain't gonna go through the trouble. So, of all my dogs, I bred him the most, which was only 5 times. So I bred him to Sissy, bred him to another inbred female that PB owned, named Blondie. Bred almost identical to Sissy. What Garrett did was bred Jeep to a Rascal Jr. female, then bred Jeep back to a daughter out of that breeding. Father-daughter breeds, and that produced Sissy, and the other breeding produced Blondie. And actually, Don Bosenbark had a sister to Sissy. I don't know what happened to her, but he had a litter mate to Sissy. So I bred him to those 2 females. We bred him to an inbred Omen female that my partner had, Country Boy had, named Dusty. And we bred him to, that's 3 breedings, bred him to a female. I don't even know how she was bred. I called her Black Lucy. The Asians that had her couldn't speak English. The communication really wasn't there. And at that time, in the South Pacific, they wanted big dogs. You know, Hall's Big Ben went over there. Grand Champion Mickey went over there. Big dogs, you know, 50, 60 pounds, 70 if they could get them. So they brought their female. She was a 50-pound female. Big Red was a 54-pound male. They expected to get some big dogs. I did too. And I don't know how she was bred. So that side is unknown. And it still produced good dogs, but none of them were big. I think 46 maybe was the biggest one. Cowboy came out of that. And then I bred him to his granddaughter, Bambi. So the Blondie female, I actually bred him to Blondie before I bred him to my own female, Sissy. Produced Champion Bill. Produced, his sister was a one-time winner. Her name was Bambi or Baby. I forget. It's in my book. Getting old, my mind wanders, or I just forget. And produced another female named Ronnie. I sold him to Mexico. He lost game in an hour. And then there were only 4 pups in the litter. One of the males quit. Sissy produced, there were 6 pups. Gave 1 to Dunleavy. There were only 2 females. One of the males quit. one of the females quit. And then there was Mr. Roddy, Clayton Blood, and BJ. So Mr. Roddy won 2. He won in an hour 28. He won in 46 minutes over Best in Show winner Wino, White Dog. And he lost to Champion Clorox in 2 hours and 31 minutes. And then Clayton Blood was a 2-time winner. He won in an hour 39 and 2:43, 2 hours and 43 minutes. So they were good litters. Mr. Roddy was my favorite. He was my favorite dogs of all the ones I bred. He was Angie's baby. I cover him kind of extensively in my book, Big Red Handbook, if you want to read about it. She bottle fed him, hand raised him. He was intense and crazy and wild, had a good mouth, good style, kind of all-around athlete. He could do it all, had good air, everything. Strong, fast. I love strength and speed. And of all the dogs I had, they had to have finish. If they didn't show finish or have finish, I didn't breed them. I might use them in competition. There was nothing wrong in that respect. But if they didn't have finish, that's just one of the things. If they didn't have it, I wouldn't breed them. There's a lot of other things. Not a lot, but there's a few things that dogs, they didn't meet these standards with me. I wouldn't use them for breeding purposes. But they could be used for competition, you know. I did that with a few dogs, you know. Charlie was like that. Dawson, I borrowed him from Don Brodt. He ended up making champion. I won with him his first time. But there were things about him. He was just too shy, too introverted, shy, scared of his own shadow. But just certain things, you know. There was even some dogs, and people who bred dogs a long time know this. Some you don't use for breeding. You just take them out of your program. Some people take the parents out and all the offspring. Take the parents, littermates, and all the offspring. So even some of those I use for competition, but not breeding. And so that's what those 2 litters produced. Then from the Omen female, produce, what was her name? There was a 2-time winner. I think Georgia Boy's Red, I think his name was. Louise, good producer. You can see these dogs all online. From the unknown female, I only got 2 dogs out of that. I don't know what happened to the other ones. One was Cowboy, very good dog. He died after a roll. And then there was Alex, who ended up being a cannibal. He didn't start till he was 3 years old. I waited on him because as I was trying to school him or schooling him, he never got mad, never got into it. He would go through the motions, never really took hold and bit down. He would just kind of hold on. Sometimes he'd just put his mouth on him and not do nothing. But he would scratch every time. And I put him on dogs that were smart and fast and strong and bit hard. He would take the punishment. He wouldn't get tired as long as I left him there. So I rolled him like 2 or 3 times, and then I went up to him one day. There was a kid in town I used to roll dogs with. But I went up to him. I said, "This is it, Alex." He was 3 years old. "You don't do something today, man. I can't keep you. You're not going to be worth it to me." So Alex must have listened, because he turned it on like a bulldog that day. He finished the dog, much bigger dog, 10, 12 pounds bigger than him. He finished him in 18 minutes. Alex ended up being my dad's dog. And again, the intelligence would come out. My dad taught him to ride in the back of a truck, unsecured, ride in the floorboard of his pickup, unsecured. He taught him some hand signals, because we had cow dogs when we were young, working cattle dogs, and my dad had to teach him, and he had his way of doing it. So he would use some hand commands, voice commands, usually whistles. So he taught Alex the whistling, whatever, sit down, or, jump in the truck, or whatever, however he did it, Alex was that way. He loved my dad. And eventually, I had to get rid of all my dogs, you know, went through that process. I've covered that before. And Alex went to TVK Kennels. He beat Cottingham's Red Boy in hour and 20 minutes. And then the last breeding I made was to Bambi, his granddaughter. So we took Champion Bill, bred him to Lucy. Lucy was off of Brat's Champion Ninja and Miss Rowdy, Big Red sister. So it was a very good breeding. That produced 4 dogs, 4 winners, 4 game dogs. Billy Jr. won 2 and lost 1. I sent him to Rudy in Louisiana. Let's see, Hammer won 1. He beat a 4-time winner in an hour 40 minutes his first time out. Bambi was a 2-time winner, and Kay made champion with my buddy Joey. He ended up calling her Killer K. She was wild and intense, screamer like that. Bambi was more serious type, strong, fast, had a good mouth. So we bred Bambi to Big Red. And I'll say this too, I had this particular color red that I got when I bred my dogs, and I tried to keep that going. So Big Red was red, Bambi was red, this certain shade of red. And I think the whole litter came out. I ended up with 2 dogs from that litter because I had someone help me during this trial and error stuff that I went through. There were 6 or 8 pumps in the litter, but I only ended up with 2, Louie, and that was kind of their payment for helping me, taking care of my dogs, whelping the litter. So there was Louie and Red Witch. Red Witch would have been a producer, no doubt. She died of babesia. Louie went on to be a foundation dog for OTK. I seen him rode twice. 15 minutes and close to an hour. Had all the tools, strong, good mouth, solid, scratch hard, scream, all that stuff. So those were the breedings I made with him. Now, while this was happening, it came to a point I had to retire. I had to get out of the competition side of it, breeding, all that. I was court ordered where I couldn't own a pit bull ever. So that's how that went down. So I sold some of my dogs, I gave some away. Like I said, OTK got the most important ones. He got the foundation dogs. He got Louie, Red Witch. He got a whole litter sired by, man, now I forget. What was that? Oh, it was K and Miss Rowdy. Champion K and Mr. Rowdy. No, it wasn't. Was it? Let me think. Now I remember. It was the last breeding I ever made. The last dogs that I ever put together. It was Louie to Sandy. So Louie was off of Big Red and Bambi. Sandy was off of Mr. Rowdy and K. That's how. All my breeding. About 5 generations. He got those. He got, I bred Mr. Rowdy to a white female. He got her, I called her Two-Face because she was black, half black and half white face. She actually lost game to a very famous champion female. Someone who I cannot name, but they're a famous family. Who else did he get? He got, I think that was pretty much it. Oh, he also ended up with Charlie, which was off of Omen and Sissy. Beat 2-time winner D, VC Kennels D in 37 minutes. Charlie did. Her sister Percy got best in show over LA Dream Team Snow, and then she lost to champion Nikki. I bred Bill. Bill was a good producer too. Might be the best son that I had even though I like Mr. Rowdy better. It's a toss-up between Mr. Rowdy and Champion Bill, which was the better dog. Bill didn't have the mouth that Mr. Rowdy did, but he was stronger, he was faster. He just beat you up and just overwhelm you. Beat Champion Jesse James, beat Old Dog Man, Mr. C, beat Robin. He was a very good dog, very good producer. I only bred him 3 times. Produced Boomer, who lost in 2 hours. Boomer's sister won in 40 minutes. Of course, he produced Champion K and Bambi and Hammer and Billy Jr. and in that litter. There were only 4 in that litter. Bill to Bill to Lucy. Produced Champion K, 3-time winner. Bambi, 2-time winner. Hammer, 1-time winner. And Billy Jr. won 2 and lost 1. And then I bred him to I bred him to a Tonka Red Baron that produced Boomer and his sister, Baby. And then, who else did I breed Bill to? Let me think again. Oh yeah, I bred Bill to, that's what it was. I bred him to the Tonka bitch that produced Boomer and Baby. I don't know if there was 2, it was Robin's female, so I don't know if there was more dogs than that, but those are the only 2 I got. Like I said, the Baby won 1, Boomer lost in 2 hours. Bred him to Miss Rowdy. I bred him to the Tonka bitch, bred him to K, and I bred him to Miss Rowdy, his aunt. Only 2 pups survived. One of them quit, and Howler became a 2-time winner, and he lost in 2:08. He won in, I think, 46 minutes or 47 minutes with Tito, the local boys. And I won. I beat Cat and Company in 1:15 with him. Real game, heavy bully son dog that was his opponent, named Red. And then he lost in 2 hours and 8 minutes to Cyrus the Virus. Boomer actually lost in 2 hours and 2 minutes. So I only bred Bill 3 times. I only bred Mr. Rowdy 2 times because that towards the end where I had to get out of the dog. And like I said, I didn't breed my dogs a lot. I bred Sissy 3 times. Bred Lucy once. Bred K once. Bambi once. I think I bred K twice, or one of them I bred twice, the other one. I just didn't breed a lot. I bred for my own needs, what I wanted. They all produced consistently. I got winners out of almost every litter, if not every litter. And a lot of game dogs, a lot of performance dogs. Real consistent. I kept most of them in-house. Some of them I would let go. I sent Miss Rowdy to Don Brodt. He repeated the breeding to Champion Ninja. I got a pup off of that named Bugsy. I sold her to Rancherita Kennels. He bred her to Little Gator. Produced Champion Cyclone, Burrito, Ninja, Little Bugsy. Little Bugsy's in the pedigree of one of the best dogs I've ever seen, Champion Chamuco, TXT, I think it was Champion Chamuco. Dave. Good dog, man. 4-time winner. Killer and game. So he had 3 short ones, and then he lost. He won game in hour 17. Very good dog. I was proud to have that. Jerry Wiseman's daughter made a point of showing me the pedigree and telling me how did Bugsy turn out. Because I never know how she turned out. It was all during that same time. Told me she was game, Richard Ruff and all that. Heavily undershot, but I guess it didn't matter. Good producer, all that. So Big Red went to Raging Bull Kennels in New York, and that's actually after he was almost 10 years old. After that time when he threw most of his dogs. I had a bunch of them off of him. I think we matched 9 dogs off of Big Red from the breedings that I had. Other people got dogs from that were from me. Some were off of Big Red, like a dog named Red, Miss Louise, Alex, you know. even some other ones off of Bill. Louis and Red Witch had a littermate named Chin Ho. He won 2 and lost in, I don't know what he lost, but one of his wins was like 3 hours. So with my dogs, they could win short or they could win long distance. Didn't matter. A lot of them had finished, some of them didn't. Like I said, some of them quit. A lot of them were game. Good record. And so Big Red actually went to Raging Bull Kennel. And I got a lot of feedback. A lot of the dogs that, including mine, that were off of Big Red or in the Big Red handbook, and a lot of the other ones. So I'll just run through some of them. Some of them I don't really know their careers. I just heard of them. Some told me certain things back then, but over time I've forgotten details over them. But he produced Grand Champion Cleo, female. Grand Champion Gorilla Bear. He was way out of the country. I don't know a lot about Gorilla Bear. I just know he was a Grand Champion. Of course, Champion Bill. Champion Benny Bones. Champion Boss. Hog. Champion Dante. Now this is interesting. You can look up Champion Dante, Champion Deli, Champion Den, and Champion Deng. They were all littermates. I know Dante won 8 and lost 2. One of them won 4 and lost 2. Another one won 3. Another one won 3. So it was a very good litter. There was also some 1 and 2-time winners in that litter. Produced Champion Humble, Champion Care Bear, Champion Schoolgirl. Very good dog. Person who owns her told me that's the best female he ever had. Champion Roxy, of course. Champion Stoli. TJ actually conditioned and handled Champion Stoli. Said he was a very good dog. 2 short wins and then a win over 2 hours. So they could do it. They could win short or they could go the distance, whatever you wanted to do. That's one of the things I liked about him. You had him in good shape. You had the right dog, meaning a quality dog. They finish you quick or they'll be there at the end. Win or lose. Champion Zeus, very good dog. 2 ROM females, Xena and China Doll. China Doll is very famous. She's actually in the pedigree of, I covered him, Grand Champion Títere. She's a Chinaman bred female. So it was Big Red bred to China Doll, who's a ROM. Is that, if you want to call it, Jeep Miss Rage Red Boy Chinaman cross. Apache PR, Dada PR. Like I said, a bunch of 1-time, 2-time winners. I did a count one time. He produced, I believe, it was 169 offspring off of Big Red. Almost 100 of them were matched. He died at 15 years old. There was frozen semen off of him. I don't know if there's anything left. Raging Bull had it. And then Livewire Kennels of Maryland had the last of it. I don't know if they still do. But he was good people too. He had offspring off of Big Red that won. Also, I think one of them, female, won Best in Show. She won like in 7 minutes. So in our career, my career with the dogs, I think the shortest win we had was 23 minutes. And the longest win we had was in 2 hours and 43 minutes with Clayton Blood. And all kinds of times in between, 46 minutes, 48 minutes, hour 28, 31 minutes, 32 minutes, hour 31, hour 30, 57, 46, a lot of different times. The point I'm kind of putting that all together is because, in my opinion, back in the day, you had to have dogs that could do both, or all 3, meaning they could win short, win long, and be game. So I'm very proud of him. He's got a soft spot in my family's hearts because he was close to everyone in my family, including my brother, partner, friends, me, Angie, nieces, nephews, cousins. A lot of them seen him go and seen his offspring go. So this is a tribute to Big Red. Like I said, I don't talk about my dogs a lot because I've written a lot about them and I talk about them here and there, but I'm glad that the Deep South Country suggested this video because it brought back a lot of memories. So thank you very much for that. Hope you enjoyed the vid. More vids on the way. Got a new book out. I'll do a little video on that. Anybody's interested in my new book. It's called How to Breed the American Pit Bull Terrier. You can contact me on Facebook Messenger or my email, richardjschoolboy60@gmail.com, or on Instagram. Thanks for your support. Same as always, feel free to comment. And much appreciated. Thank you.